Welcome everybody. Today we'll be talking about viewpoints. Just like any other elicitation technique, with viewpoints, we're going to different stakeholders to try to understand the problem and the requirements necessary for our application. So what is viewpoints? It's a method of collecting and organizing data from different perspectives of your stakeholders so we can understand what is being asked and what we need to do to make our application best for everybody. If you're a good requirements engineer, you'll be wanting to go to many different stakeholders with that have a background from different areas, so we're not all focused on collecting requirements just from one area. And that's what viewpoints tries to accomplish. So viewpoint examples, there's really many. We can go from the perspective of a customer and what they need, or what it needs to be done on the security side, marketing, from a database, really just anything that you can think of. A viewpoint, if you have a stakeholder with that perspective, that is a viewpoint right there. There's many different viewpoints that we can use, and when using viewpoints, you want to not use everything, but you'll also want to have a good spread of viewpoints. So once again, you're not just collecting from one person's or even a group of requirements from that group of stakeholders.
So as with every technique, there are going to be pros and cons. Some of the pros that go along with using the viewpoint techniques is that you get a broad range of perspectives. As was mentioned in the previous slide, there are many different people and perspectives that go into making a product whole and complete. When you are figuring out all these different viewpoints and perspectives, you quickly discover potential conflicts over different requirements and how people think things should be done. And so by using viewpoints, you can expose these and nip them in the bud before they become even big problems. It is easy to see where improvements can be made. You might have coded something earlier this morning, and then the viewpoint of a consumer or a different stakeholder could come up that will change what you did so that you can get all of the important requirements to ensure that your consumers and the other stakeholders are satisfied. It's really nice when you are discussing it and taking in so many different perspectives. You can identify missing requirements, inconsistencies, and as was mentioned, resolve any requirement conflicts. Even though this sounds amazing, there are some cons when you use viewpoints. You can have a group of stakeholders that is very narrow-minded, where they aren't thinking about a lot of different perspectives. They aren't asking different people or different other groups of stakeholders what they think about a project or a set of requirements. On the flip side, you can have a group of stakeholders that try to make everybody happy, in a sense, where you are gathering much more information than is necessary. You're getting perspectives from almost any stakeholder you can think of, and there's definitely a thing as too much of a good thing, right? You want enough information to make wise decisions and to have a well-rounded product. But if you have too much information, then it will lead to longer production times and less cost efficiency, because you're going to have to be wading through all of this data. As what is very common in the tech industry, you can't just throw around vocabulary words like viewpoints. You need to make sure that when you are asking people about their perspectives and for their viewpoints, you make them sure that they understand what indeed you're asking, so that not only will they feel comfortable and give you honest answers, but so that you will get the correct data that you need. Another con, as was mentioned before, is you can end up with a lot of unnecessary information from viewpoints if you use it incorrectly. This would lead to higher cost, hindering production time, and we all know that the longer it takes for a product to get out into industry, then the less time the company makes money.
So when should you not use viewpoints? The very first one is when you're focusing on non-functional requirements. Viewpoints is not very good at collecting data on non-functional requirements. And so if you want to focus on that, whether that be the time or the cost of your application, other things such as speed, using viewpoints is not really the best tactic. Also, another thing, if you're using any of these three other techniques, viewpoints is not something good to go along with them. Scenarios and anthropography and domain analysis pretty much take place of viewpoints. And so if you try to do both, you're going to do a lot of double work with them. So when should you use viewpoints? Well, when you're already classifying stakeholders and requirements into different classes so that you can quickly see and understand where they come from, this is a good time to use viewpoints. Another thing is when your primary focus is on the functional requirements of the application, and when you see those as the most important, then viewpoints can be a good thing. So how do we do viewpoints? Well, we start with using other techniques such as interviews, group work, or goals or prototyping. And these can help us when we do the viewpoints techniques. So for us, what we did is we selected a few different viewpoints and we actually went in and interviewed the people. And that's kind of how viewpoints work.
So as you can see for our data, when you're designing any product, you have to start to gather data to help decide what direction the project is going to go in. When we were designing our presentation, we started with our topic, viewpoints, and our stakeholders. We knew that data would need to be collected from all of these different stakeholders so that we can demonstrate and give you examples to what viewpoints are out there. So as you can see, we have several different perspectives here on this slide. We have two different types of customers, and then we have some professors that for BYU Idaho. And as you can see, many of the desires, many of the customers share the same perspective. This is great information for when you are making a product, so you can be sure to add those likes or dislikes as requirements. And then the extra outlying factors aren't wanted or needed by the general public, aren't wanted by most of your stakeholders, and so they will not need to be added into your product. After talking to several of the faculty members here, they all agreed that these are some basic principles that we would need to ensure that our customers' data is secure and that they would feel safe when using our app. What does all of this mean for you guys? So what you need to remember is that viewpoints is a great technique when you want to have a very well-rounded, very all-encompassing work model. It pairs well with different techniques such as brainstorming or group work, things that are already in a group setting where you're asking multiple different types of stakeholders their perspectives. This is nice as to not increase production time, but to end up with a product that encompasses many different viewpoints and will be more well-rounded. Thus, you will have a product that is more widely accepted by the public and will be much more successful. Thank you so much for watching. We hope that you can understand what viewpoints is in the future and we can apply it in our project.